Shadow case files. Every case has a shadow. Every shadow hides the truth. Let's begin.
It was a warm June evening in Colorado Springs. 17-year-old Riley Whitelaw clocked in for what she probably figured would be just another regular shift at Walgreens. She was a bright kid, artistic, always making plans, full of energy. At some point, she told her manager she was taking a break. Then the minutes started adding up, and she didn't come back. Eventually, her coworkers went to check the break room, and they found her. This is Riley's story. Not the headline version, but the real one, about a daughter, a friend, and a talented artist who went to work one night thinking she was completely safe. What happened in that store ended up shining a harsh light on the workplace, the community, and the systems that are supposed to look out for kids like her. Even after the guy was convicted and justice was served, a lot of people are still left with questions that never really got answered. Riley Elizabeth Whitelaw was the kind of teenager who just made you feel seen. She was wise beyond her years, but she still had that wide-eyed teenage wonder about her. She'd listen to you like you were the only person in the room, ask really thoughtful questions, and you could tell she actually cared. At the same time, she had this silly, carefree side. She'd goof around, crack jokes, and just light up whatever space she was in. She was a seriously talented artist. She painted, sculpted tie-dyed clothes, played guitar, you name it. Her dreams were way bigger than folding shirts or stocking shelves at a retail job. She worked part-time at the Walgreens on Centennial Boulevard to help her family out and put money away for the future. She'd been there almost a year and a half by then, and to her coworkers and managers she was the reliable one, always kind, always professional, always showing up. But behind that smile, Riley had quietly mentioned to a few people that she felt uneasy around one of her colleagues, a 28-year-old guy named Joshua Taylor Johnson. This all happened on June 11th, 2022. The evening shift was already rolling along. Riley had been at work for hours. Sometime in the mid-afternoon, she told the manager she was taking her break and headed back to the employee break room. She never came out. As the minutes kept piling up, people started getting worried. One of the managers pulled up the security footage to see if she'd left the building. What he saw wasn't her walking out the door. It was Joshua Johnson, her coworker, carefully stacking bins right in front of the camera that pointed straight into the break room. He'd taped paper over the nearby windows and even stuck a restroom closed sign out there so nobody would wander in. Just before 7 o'clock, the 911 call came through. You could hear the manager's voice, shaky and urgent. "There's a body in the break room." When the police got there, it was awful. Blood was all over the floor, the cabinets, the counter. Riley's ID badge and her little radio earpiece were lying on the ground near her feet. She was already gone. The investigation moved fast. Colorado Springs police detectives Steve Alonzo and Mike Lee were the ones leading it. Within hours, they already had their main suspect, Joshua Johnson. He had taken off from the store right after it happened. The very next day, June 12th, the Colorado State Patrol pulled him over on I-25 near Walsenburg and arrested him. From the start, the evidence painted a pretty clear picture. The surveillance video showed Johnson deliberately blocking the camera with those bins. When they asked him about it later, he flat out denied stacking anything, even after they played the footage right in front of him. Forensic techs recovered a Gerber multi-tool they believe was the weapon. It had DNA from both Riley and Johnson on it. They also found Johnson's DNA under Riley's fingernails, proof she had fought hard to stay alive. And Riley's blood was on the clothes he'd worn to work that day. The autopsy showed she had 42 sharp force wounds on her chest, face, chin, hands, arms, and neck. There were defense wounds on her hands where she'd tried to protect herself. The medical examiner determined the cause of death was asphyxial wounding along with all that trauma. She'd been beaten, strangled, and stabbed. It was ruled a homicide. But the evidence wasn't just the forensics. It all pointed to one clear motive: rejection. Riley had complained to management more than once about Johnson. She told them he made her uncomfortable and asked to be put on different shifts so she wouldn't have to work with him. Management scheduled them together anyway. She apparently told them she was fine with the new schedule, but deep down, she wasn't. In voice messages she sent to a friend, messages that were played in court later, Riley called him Pedo Josh. She said his advances felt gross and completely unprofessional. Friends and family testified that she had turned down his romantic interest more than once. He'd gotten jealous of her new boyfriend, who was another guy who worked at the same Walgreens. Prosecutors laid it out plainly. This was an unrequited crush that turned deadly. Johnson had planned the whole thing, blocking the camera, sealing off the break room, and going after her while the store was still open and customers were shopping just a few feet away. Johnson pleaded not guilty. His defense team tried to tell a different story. He claimed he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. He said he heard a call for help, went in to respond, but then panicked and ran because he felt scared and ashamed about leaving his coworker behind. The contradictions in that story were pretty obvious. If he was only trying to help, why block the camera? Why flee the state? And how do you explain the DNA evidence of a violent struggle? The trial got delayed for a while. In 2023, they ran some competency evaluations and decided Johnson was fit to stand trial. The case finally went before a jury in September 2023. In the El Paso County courtroom, the prosecution walked everyone through the timeline step by step. Co-workers got up and talked about how Johnson had made advances on Riley and how uncomfortable she'd been around him. Forensic experts went over the DNA, the blood, and that multi-tool. Then they played the surveillance video. Johnson stacking those bins to block the camera. Riley's mom, Courtney, took the stand. You could hear the pain in her voice when she spoke about her daughter's final hours. The defense pushed back. They argued the evidence wasn't solid enough to prove he planned a deliberate murder and that his running away was just panic, not a sign of guilt. After only 1 hour of deliberation on October 4, 2023, the jury came back with a verdict, guilty of first-degree murder. Joshua Taylor Johnson was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. That's the mandatory sentence in Colorado. In the aftermath, Riley's family took their grief and turned it into something that would last. Her mom, Courtney, started the Riley I. Whitelaw Memorial Fund. It honors Riley's deep love for the arts by giving scholarships to local students and grants to young artists who are just starting out. They also put on these Riley Rocks events and fundraisers that keep her spirit alive, sharing her paintings, her sculptures, and her music. Colorado lawmakers stepped up too. In May 2023, Governor Polis signed Riley's Law. It protects the privacy of minor victims and witnesses in public records, while still making sure the public has the right to know what happened. The law went into effect later that year. The community in Colorado Springs came together to mourn a girl who had touched so many lives in her short 17 years. Her coworkers, her friends, her teachers, they all spoke about what a kind, talented young woman she was, full of promise. Riley Whitelaw's story is one of unimaginable loss, a bright light extinguished in the place she went to earn a paycheck and chase her dreams. Justice was served. A jury saw the evidence, the premeditation, the brutality born of rejection. Joshua Johnson will spend the rest of his life behind bars. Yet even with a conviction, some questions linger in the quiet moments. Why were Riley's complaints about feeling uncomfortable not taken more seriously by management? Could a simple shift change have changed everything? How deep did Johnson's obsession run, and were there warning signs others missed in those final weeks? And for every family like the Whitelaws, what more can workplaces, communities, and laws do to protect young people, especially young women, who speak up about feeling unsafe? Riley fought back with everything she had. Her DNA under his nails, her defense wounds. They tell us she did not go quietly. Her art lives on. Her foundation gives other young artists a chance. Her law protects others. But her absence is felt every single day. A 17-year-old who should be painting, playing guitar, and planning her future is gone. What happened in that break room on June 11, 2022 was not inevitable. It was a preventable tragedy. And in remembering Riley, we are reminded that safety at work should never be a gamble, especially for those just starting their lives. She went on break and never came back, but her light hasn't gone out. Not really. It's still right there in everything she left behind.